Document. Part 1 of Aliens watched humans drink poison and called it a beverage in a faraway part of the universe. There was a species known as the Zenari. They were an advanced race, with technology so sophisticated that it seemed like magic to anyone who didn't understand it. The Zenari had been exploring the stars for thousands of years, studying planets and their inhabitants from afar. They were careful not to interfere but were endlessly curious about the strange and diverse life forms they encountered. One day, while scanning distant worlds through their powerful quantum telescopes, the Zenari stumbled upon something unusual. A small blue planet caught their attention. This planet, called Earth, was teeming with life. The Zenari had observed its inhabitants before, noting their complex societies, their wars, and their art. But this time, they noticed something new, a peculiar habit shared by nearly all humans. Humans were drinking something that looked dangerous, even toxic, yet they seemed to enjoy it. Lirak, one of the Zenari scientists, leaned closer to his screen. His large, almond-shaped eyes narrowed in concentration as he studied the images sent back by the telescope. He could see groups of humans gathered around tables in brightly lit rooms. Some held steaming cups in their hands, others sipped from colorful cans or bottles. Whatever these liquids were, they appeared to be central to human social interactions. People laughed, talked, and smiled as they drank them. "What are they doing?" Lirak asked aloud, his voice soft and melodic. "They appear to be consuming some kind of liquid," replied Vela, another scientist standing nearby. She was older than Lirak, her skin shimmering faintly with iridescent hues. "But the composition is strange. Our sensors detect high levels of caffeine, sugar, and other compounds that should be harmful." Lirak tilted his head slightly, a gesture among the Zenari that signaled curiosity. "Harmful. Yet they seem unbothered. Look at them, they're smiling, laughing. Are they immune to these substances?" Vela shook her head. "Not entirely. Their biology suggests they're vulnerable to such chemicals. In fact, prolonged exposure could lead to damage over time, and yet, they continue to consume them willingly." This puzzled Lirak deeply. Among the Zenari, food and drink were practical matters, things needed to sustain life. Anything unnecessary or potentially harmful would never be consumed. To see humans willingly ingest what looked like poison baffled him. It was as if they didn't care about the risks, or perhaps they didn't even realize they existed. Could it be a ritual? Lirak wondered. Or maybe a form of entertainment? "It's possible," Vela said thoughtfully. "Humans often engage in behaviors that defy logic. Perhaps this is one of those instances." Lirak couldn't let go of the mystery. He spent hours analyzing the data, zooming in on different scenes captured by the telescope. He watched as humans poured dark liquids into cups, added cream or sugar, and stirred them absent-mindedly. He saw children slurping brightly colored sodas through straws, teenagers chugging energy drinks during late-night study sessions, and adults sipping wine at dinner parties. Each scenario was unique, yet the common thread was clear. Humans loved their beverages, no matter how dangerous they might be. One particular image caught Lirak's eye. Two humans sat outside under the shade of trees, holding paper cups filled with a brown liquid. Steam rose lazily from the cups, curling into the air. One of them, a young man with short hair and a casual jacket, took a sip and sighed contentedly. The woman beside him laughed at something he said, then raised her own cup to her lips. There was an ease between them, a warmth that made the moment feel significant. "They look happy," Lirak murmured. "As if this act brings them joy." "Yes," Vela agreed. "But why? Why risk harm for such fleeting pleasure?" Lirak didn't have an answer, but he wanted to find one. He turned to Vela, his expression earnest. "We need to learn more. If we truly wish to understand humanity, we must unravel this behavior. What drives them to drink poison and call it a beverage?" Vela hesitated, sending probes to investigate. Alien civilizations was risky, especially when dealing with intelligent species like humans. Still, she understood Lirac's fascination. Humans were unlike any other beings the Zanari had encountered. Their contradictions were both maddening and intriguing. "Very well," she said finally. "I'll authorize a reconnaissance mission, but we must proceed carefully. No direct contact until we know more." Relieved, Lirac nodded. "Thank you, Vela. I won't disappoint you." The next day, the Zanari prepared a small probe designed to blend seamlessly into Earth's environment. Shaped like a bird, it was equipped with advanced sensors capable of analyzing chemical compositions and recording audio-visual data. Once ready, the probe was launched toward Earth, guided by precise calculations to ensure it landed undetected. When the probe arrived, it descended quietly into a large park surrounded by towering buildings. Trees swayed gently in the breeze, and the sounds of birdsong filled the air. The probe perched itself on a low branch, its metallic feathers blending perfectly with the natural foliage. From there, it began observing the humans below. Two figures soon entered its field of view. One was Alex, a tall man with tousled brown hair and a friendly smile. The other was Samantha, a petite woman with sharp features and an air of skepticism. Both carried cups filled with coffee, which they sipped occasionally as they walked along a winding path. The probe focused its sensors on their drinks, analyzing every detail. It detected traces of caffeine, antioxidants, and various flavor compounds. To the Zanari, these elements were alarming. Caffeine, in particular, was a stimulant that could cause rapid heartbeats and anxiety in large doses. Yet Alex and Samantha showed no signs of distress. On the contrary, they seemed relaxed, chatting animatedly as they strolled back on the Zanari ship. Lirac watched the live feed with growing excitement. "Fascinating," he whispered. "They're completely unaffected, or at least, they don't show it." Vela joined him, her gaze fixed on the screen. "It's remarkable how adaptable they are. Even when faced with substances that could harm them, they've found ways to incorporate them into their daily lives." "But why?" Lirac asked again. "What purpose does it serve?" "That," Vela said with a hint of amusement, "is what we're here to discover." As the probe continued gathering data, Lirac felt a spark of hope. Perhaps, through careful observation, they could uncover the truth behind humanity's strange relationship with beverages. And maybe, just maybe, they'd gain insight into the enigmatic nature of humans themselves. For now, though the Zanari could only watch and wait, their curiosity burning brighter than ever. Document. Part 2 of Aliens Watched Humans Drink Poison and called it a beverage. The Zanari probe, disguised as a bird, had settled comfortably on a branch in Central Park. Its metallic feathers shimmered faintly in the sunlight. But to the humans passing by, it looked no different from any other bird perched there. The probe's sensors were active, constantly scanning its surroundings and recording data. It focused particularly on two individuals, Alex and Samantha. Alex was leaning back on a park bench, his legs stretched out casually. He held a paper cup in one hand, occasionally taking sips of the dark liquid inside. Beside him, Samantha sat cross-legged, her own cup cradled between her palms. She seemed more alert, glancing around the park every now and then, as if trying to take in everything at once. The probe's audio sensors picked up snippets of their conversation. "Did you hear about that new cafe downtown?" Alex asked, his tone light and casual. "No. What's so special about it?" Samantha replied, raising an eyebrow. "They serve coffee with flavors I've never even heard of," Alex said, smirking, "like lavender and chili. Sounds weird, right?" Samantha laughed, shaking her head. "That is weird, but honestly, knowing you, you'll probably try it anyway." "You know me too well," Alex admitted with a grin. "Besides, isn't that the point of coffee? To experiment and find something new?" The probe's sensors buzzed softly as It analyzed the contents of their cups. The liquid inside was warm, rich in caffeine, and laced with subtle flavor compounds. To the Zenari, this mixture was alarming. Caffeine was a powerful stimulant, capable of disrupting biological systems. Yet Alex and Samantha showed no signs of discomfort. In fact, they seemed energized, cheerful even, as if the drink was enhancing their mood. Back on the Zenari ship, Lyrak watched the live feed intently. His large eyes scanned the screen, absorbing every detail. Vela stood beside him, arms crossed, her expression thoughtful. "They're speaking about experimenting with flavors," Lyrak noted, pointing to the screen. "It seems they view these beverages not just as sustenance, but as a form of enjoyment." "It's strange," Vela replied. "Our species has always approached food and drink as necessities. We consume only what is required for health and survival. The idea of deliberately altering taste or consuming potentially harmful substances for pleasure, it's foreign to us." Lyrak nodded slowly. "Perhaps that's why humans are so fascinating. They don't just survive, they seek out experiences, even if those experiences carry risks." As the probe continued to observe, Alex and Samantha finished their drinks and stood up. They tossed their empty cups into a nearby trash bin and began walking toward a small cafe nestled among the trees. The probe followed discreetly, flitting from branch to branch like a real bird. When they entered the cafe, it perched outside a window, its sensors trained on the interior. Inside, Alex and Samantha joined a short line of customers waiting to order. The cafe was cozy, with wooden tables and shelves lined with jars of coffee beans. A chalkboard menu hung behind the counter, listing drinks with names like caramel macchiato and matcha latte. The probe's sensors detected a variety of ingredients stored behind the counter: powders, syrups, and bags of roasted beans, all contributing to the creation of these mysterious beverages. When it was their turn to order, Alex stepped forward confidently. "I'll have a cappuccino with an extra shot of espresso," he said to the barista. "And I'll take a chai latte," Samantha added, smiling politely. The barista nodded and began preparing their orders. The probe zoomed in on the process, fascinated by the precision involved. Ground coffee beans were measured and brewed, steam wands frothed milk, and syrups were drizzled into cups with artistic flair. Each step was methodical, yet infused with creativity. By the time the drinks were ready, they looked almost too beautiful to consume. Alex and Samantha returned to their table near the window, carrying their drinks carefully. They took their first sips almost simultaneously, and both smiled. The probe captured the moment perfectly, the way their faces softened, their eyes closing briefly as if savoring the taste. "This is amazing," Alex said, his voice filled with satisfaction. "You should have gotten a caramel macchiato, Sam. You'd love it." "I'll stick to my chai for now," Samantha replied, though she sounded amused. "But maybe next time." The probe transmitted all of this information back to the Zenari ship. Lyrak and Vela studied the footage closely, analyzing every interaction, every sip, every word spoken. The more they learned, the more questions arose. What is it about these drinks that brings them such joy? Lyrak wondered aloud. Is it the taste, the warmth, or something else entirely? Vela frowned slightly. It's possible the chemicals in these beverages affect their brain chemistry. Caffeine, for example, can increase alertness and improve mood temporarily. Perhaps that's part of the appeal. But it's not just caffeine, Lyrak countered. They add sugar, spices, and other ingredients. Why go through so much effort when plain water would suffice? Vela didn't have an answer, but she found herself intrigued. Humans were clearly driven by more than basic needs. Their behaviors suggested a desire for connection, exploration, and self-expression. Drinking coffee wasn't just about staying awake, it was about sharing moments, creating memories, and indulging in small pleasures. Later that day, the probe followed Alex and Samantha as they left the cafe and wandered through the park again. They stopped by a fountain, tossing coins into the water and making wishes. The probe hovered nearby, capturing their laughter and playful banter. At one point, Alex leaned over and whispered something in Samantha's ear, causing her to burst into giggles. "They seem so alive," Lyrak remarked, watching the scene unfold on the monitor. "Even when they're doing ordinary things, there's a sense of vitality to them." "Yes," Vela agreed. "They embrace life fully, even when it involves risks. That's something we could learn from." For hours, the probe continued its observations, gathering data on how humans interacted with their environment and each other. It recorded scenes of people jogging, reading books, playing with children, and yes, drinking more beverages. Some carried bottles of water, others clutched cans of soda or sports drinks. Each person had their own preferences, their own rituals. By the time night fell, the probe had collected a wealth of information. It returned to its perch in the tree, transmitting the final batch of data before powering down for the evening. Back on the Zanari ship, Lyrak and Vela reviewed everything they had gathered. "We've learned a lot today," Vela said, her voice tinged with admiration. "Humans are complex creatures. Their relationship with these drinks is just one example of how they navigate the world. And we've only scratched the surface," Lyrak added, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "There's so much more to discover." Vela nodded. "Tomorrow, we'll focus on understanding the cultural significance of these beverages. Perhaps we can identify patterns or rituals that explain their importance." Lyrak smiled, his mind already racing with possibilities. For now, though, he allowed himself a moment of quiet reflection. Watching Alex and Samantha had given him a glimpse into a world vastly different from his own. It was chaotic, unpredictable, and full of contradictions, but also brimming with life and wonder. As the ship drifted silently through space, Lyrak couldn't shake the feeling that humanity held secrets worth uncovering. Secrets that might challenge everything the Zanari thought they knew about life itself. And perhaps, in learning about humans, they would also learn something about themselves. For now, the probe rested, its mission complete for the day. Tomorrow would bring new opportunities, new insights, and new mysteries to solve. Document. Part 3 of Aliens watched humans drink poison and called it a beverage the next morning. Lyrak couldn't wait to dive deeper into the data collected by the probe. He had spent hours reviewing the footage from the previous day, replaying moments when Alex and Samantha sipped their drinks or laughed together at the cafe. Each frame offered new clues about human behavior, but Lyrak felt there was still something missing, a deeper understanding of why these beverages meant so much to them. Vela entered the observation room just as Lyrak was adjusting the holographic display. "You're up early," she said, her voice calm but tinged with curiosity. "Any breakthroughs?" "Not yet," Lyrak admitted, turning to face her. "But I've been thinking, watching humans isn't enough. To truly understand their connection to these drinks, we need to experience it ourselves." Vela's expression shifted slightly, her shimmering skin flickering with concern. "Experience it? You mean, replicate their beverages?" "Yes," Lyrak replied eagerly. "If we can recreate what they drink using our own technology, we might uncover the appeal firsthand." Vela hesitated. The idea was risky. The Zanari were cautious by nature, especially when it came to experimenting with substances outside their carefully controlled diets. Consuming anything unfamiliar could have unforeseen consequences, even for beings as advanced as them. "It's dangerous," Vela warned. "We don't fully understand how these chemicals interact with human biology, let alone ours. What if it harms us?" "I'll take full responsibility," Lyrak insisted. "Besides, we can start with small amounts, controlled tests. If we monitor the effects closely, we'll minimize the risks." Vela studied him for a moment, weighing his enthusiasm against the potential dangers. Finally, she sighed. "Very well, but under strict supervision, and only you will participate in the initial trial." Relieved, Lyrak nodded. Thank you, Vela. I promise I'll be careful. Later that day, Lyrak stood in the ship's laboratory, surrounded by vials, beakers, and glowing instruments. Using the data gathered by the probe, he began synthesizing a replica of the drink Alex had ordered at the cafe, a cappuccino with an extra shot of espresso. The process was meticulous, requiring precise measurements of caffeine, sugar, milk, proteins, and flavor compounds. As he worked, Lyrak couldn't help but marvel at the complexity of human creations. Each ingredient served a purpose, blending together to form something greater than the sum of its parts. When the beverage was ready, it looked almost identical to the ones Alex and Samantha had enjoyed. A frothy layer of milk foam rested on top, dusted lightly with cocoa powder. The aroma was rich and inviting, though slightly alien to Lyrak's senses. He stared at the cup for a long moment, feeling a mix of excitement and apprehension. Here goes nothing, he muttered to himself before lifting the cup to his lips. The first sip was overwhelming. The bitterness of the coffee hit him immediately, followed by a sharp jolt of energy coursing through his body. His heart rate spiked, and his thoughts raced faster than ever before. For a brief moment, he felt invigorated, as if his mind had been unlocked to endless possibilities. But then came the side effects. Lyrak staggered backward, clutching his chest as waves of dizziness washed over him. His vision blurred, and his limbs trembled uncontrollably. Alarms blared in the lab as the monitoring systems detected abnormal readings in his vital signs. Within seconds, Vela and several other scientists rushed in, their expressions alarmed. What happened? Vela demanded, scanning the room until her eyes landed on the half-empty cup in Lyrak's hand. I tried the beverage, Lyrak managed to say between shallow breaths. It's powerful. Vela quickly administered a stabilizing agent to counteract the effects of the caffeine. Slowly, Lyrak's condition improved, though he remained weak and shaken. Once he was stable enough to speak, Vela turned to him with a stern look. You were reckless, she scolded. I warned you about the risks. Humans may tolerate these substances, but we are not built the same way. I know, Lyrak replied, his voice soft with remorse. I underestimated how potent it would be, but I think I understand now. That burst of energy, it must be what humans feel when they drink it. It's exhilarating, even if it's temporary. Vela crossed her arms, her expression softening slightly. Exhilaration comes at a cost. Did you see how quickly your body reacted? Imagine if you'd consumed more. Lyrak nodded, acknowledging her point. I won't make the same mistake again. But this experiment proves something important. These beverages aren't just about taste, they alter human perception, giving them a sense of focus and vitality. No wonder they value them so highly. Vela considered his words, her gaze thoughtful. Perhaps, but we must proceed cautiously. If we wish to study these effects further, we'll need better safeguards in place. Over the next few days, the Zenari team worked tirelessly to refine their approach. They developed a series of simulations to predict how different combinations of ingredients might affect their physiology. Using these models, they created diluted versions of human beverages, reducing the concentration of potentially harmful compounds while preserving the core flavors. Lyrak volunteered for another test, this time with a milder version of the cappuccino. Under Vela's watchful eye, he took a small sip, bracing himself for the rush of energy. This time, the effect was gentler, more manageable. He felt a subtle lift in his mood, a pleasant warmth spreading through his body. It wasn't as intense as before, but it was enough to give him a glimpse of what humans experienced daily. It's working, Lyrak said, smiling faintly. I can feel it, the clarity, the focus. It's incredible. Vela nodded, though her expression remained cautious. It seems we've found a balance. But remember, this is just one type of beverage. Humans consume countless variations, each with its own unique properties. We've barely scratched the surface. Encouraged by their progress, the team expanded their experiments. They recreated samples of tea, soda, and even alcoholic drinks, analyzing their chemical compositions and testing their effects in controlled environments. Some proved harmless, offering mild stimulation or relaxation. Others, like alcohol, posed significant challenges due to their impact on cognitive function and motor skills. Through it all, Lirac remained determined to learn as much as possible. He believed that understanding human beverages was key to unlocking broader insights into their culture. Every sip, every reaction, brought him closer to unraveling the mystery. One evening, as the team reviewed their findings, Lirac turned to Vela with a question. Do you think humans realize how unusual their habits are? Do they understand the risks they take every time they drink these things? Vela paused, considering his words. They must, on some level. But perhaps they choose to overlook the dangers because of the benefits. Or maybe they simply accept the risks as part of living fully. Lirac nodded slowly. Living fully. That's what fascinates me most about them. They embrace uncertainty, seek out experiences, and find joy in the smallest details. Even something as simple as drinking coffee becomes a celebration of life. Vela smiled faintly. That's what makes them so intriguing. Their imperfections, their contradictions, they make them uniquely human. As the conversation ended, Lirac returned to the observation monitors, watching footage of Alex and Samantha laughing over cups of coffee. Despite the setbacks and challenges, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. The Zenari had embarked on this mission to study Earth, but along the way, they were discovering something equally valuable, a deeper appreciation for the complexities of life itself. For now, the experiments continued, each step bringing them closer to understanding humanity's peculiar relationship with beverages. And though the journey was far from over, Lirac knew they were on the right path, one sip at a time. *** Document. Part 4 of Aliens watched humans drink poison and called it a beverage. ***. After weeks of experiments and observations, Lirac began to feel that the Zenari were still missing something important. While their tests had revealed much about the chemical properties of human beverages, they hadn't uncovered the deeper cultural significance behind them. To truly understand why humans drank these substances, Lirac believed they needed to interact directly with them, just observe from afar. Vela was hesitant at first. Direct contact with humans was risky, especially given how protective Earth's governments could be of their citizens. But Lirac argued that the benefits outweighed the risks. If the Zenari wanted to learn what made humanity tick, they needed to immerse themselves in human society. If it meant taking a bold step. We've studied them for long enough, Lirac said during one of their meetings. Now it's time to go deeper. Let me try making contact, not as an alien, but as someone who shares their curiosity. Vela frowned, her shimmering skin flickering faintly with concern. You're suggesting we disguise ourselves? That's dangerous. Humans are unpredictable. What if they react badly? I'll be careful, Lirac promised. I'll use a holographic projection to blend in. I'll pose as a traveler, someone curious about Earth's culture. If I approach them gently, they might welcome the chance to share their world. Vela hesitated, weighing the potential outcomes. Finally, she sighed. Very well, but you must follow strict protocols. No revealing your true identity unless absolutely necessary, and stay within safe boundaries. Relieved, Lirac nodded. Thank you, Vela. I won't let you down. The next day, Lirac prepared for his mission. Using advanced holographic technology, he transformed himself into a human-like figure. His new appearance was tall and lean, with short dark hair and warm brown eyes. He wore simple clothes, a plain jacket, jeans, and sneakers to avoid drawing attention. The transformation was flawless, though Lirac felt slightly awkward in his new form. Walking on two legs and speaking with a human voice required practice. But he was determined to succeed. Once ready, Lyrak stepped off the ship and into Central Park, where Alex and Samantha often spent their mornings. He chose a spot near the cafe they frequented, positioning himself casually on a bench, as if waiting for someone. It didn't take long for the two humans to appear, each carrying a cup of coffee. Lyrak watched them approach, his heart pounding with anticipation. When they passed by, he cleared his throat softly and spoke. "Excuse me," he said, his voice calm and friendly. "Could I ask you a question?" Alex stopped and turned, his expression curious. "Sure. What's up?" Samantha lingered slightly behind him, her sharp eyes studying Lyrak with suspicion. She didn't say anything, but her posture suggested caution. "My name is Kale," Lyrak introduced himself, sticking to the alias he'd chosen. "I'm visiting from out of town, and I've been fascinated by your local customs. I noticed. Everyone seems to love these drinks." He gestured toward their cups. "What makes them so special?" Alex grinned, clearly pleased by the question. "Oh, coffee. Yeah, it's kind of a big deal around here. Helps us wake up, keeps us going throughout the day. Plus, it tastes great." "It's not just coffee," Samantha added, stepping forward. Slightly. Her tone was polite, but guarded. "People drink all kinds of things: tea, soda, energy drinks. Everyone has their favorites." "Interesting," Lyrak replied, tilting his head slightly. "But why do you choose to drink something that alters your body? From what I've seen, some of these beverages can have strong effects." Alex laughed, shaking his head. "Yeah, caffeine can be intense if you're not used to it. But most people build a tolerance over time. Besides, life's too short to worry about every little thing." Samantha crossed her arms, her gaze narrowing slightly. "Are you a scientist? Or something? You seem really interested in this stuff." Lyrak hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "Not exactly. I'm part of a cultural exchange program. We travel to different places, learning about how others live. Your habits around food and drink are particularly intriguing." That seemed to satisfy Samantha, though she still looked skeptical. Alex, however, appeared delighted by the idea. "Well, if you're looking for recommendations, I can point you to some great spots. There is a cafe downtown that serves amazing flavored lattes. Trust me, you haven't lived until you've tried a caramel macchiato." Lyrak smiled, grateful for Alex's enthusiasm. "I'd like that. Thank you." Over the next hour, Alex and Samantha shared stories about their favorite drinks and hangouts. They talked about late-night study sessions fueled by energy drinks, weekend brunches accompanied by mimosas, and cozy afternoons spent sipping tea. Lyrak listened intently, absorbing every detail. He asked thoughtful questions, steering the conversation toward broader topics like tradition, community, and personal preferences. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, Alex glanced at his watch and sighed. "We should probably get going. Work calls." "Wait," Samantha interjected suddenly, her eyes narrowing again. "Kale, where are you from exactly? You said you're traveling, but you haven't mentioned where." Lyrak paused, caught off guard by the question. He hadn't anticipated needing to provide specifics about his background. Thinking quickly, he replied, "A small town far away, very quiet, very different from here. That's why I'm so eager to learn about your way of life." Samantha didn't look entirely convinced, but she didn't press further. Instead, she offered a polite smile. "Well, good luck with your research. Maybe we'll see you around." "Perhaps," Lyrak said, nodding graciously. "Thank you for your help." As Alex and Samantha walked away, Lyrak felt a mix of relief and exhilaration. The encounter had gone better than he'd hoped. Though Samantha remained suspicious, Alex's openness had provided valuable insights. More importantly, Lyrak now had a foothold in human society. Posing as Kale, he could continue exploring their world without raising alarms. Over the following days, Lyrak returned to the park regularly, always keeping an eye out for Alex and Samantha. Each time they met, the conversations grew more natural. Alex treated him like a friend, inviting him to join outings or recommending new cafes to visit. Samantha, though still cautious, warmed up slightly, especially when Lyrak showed genuine interest in her opinions. One afternoon, Alex decided to take Kale to a bustling coffee shop downtown. The place was filled with chatter and the rich aroma of roasted beans. Baristas moved efficiently behind the counter, crafting intricate designs. In frothy milk, Lyrak observed everything with wide-eyed fascination, marveling at the creativity involved in such a simple act. "What do you think?" Alex asked, handing Lyrak a cup of chai latte. "Try this. It's one of my favorites." Lyrak accepted the drink cautiously, careful not to reveal his lack of familiarity. He took a small sip, savoring the spicy sweet flavor. "It's wonderful," he said truthfully. "The balance of ingredients is remarkable." Alex beamed with pride. "See, told you. Humans know how to enjoy life." Lyrak chuckled softly, feeling a pang of guilt for deceiving Alex. Still, he reminded himself that his mission was important. Every interaction brought him closer to understanding humanity and, perhaps, bridging the gap between their species. Back on the Zanari ship, Vela reviewed the footage from Lyrak's encounters. She was impressed by his ability to blend in seamlessly, though she couldn't shake her concerns about the risks involved. "You're doing well," she told him one evening, "but don't let your guard down. Humans may seem harmless, but they're capable of unpredictable reactions." "I know," Lyrak replied, his expression serious, "but I believe this is worth it. Every conversation, every shared moment, it helps us understand them better." Vela nodded slowly. "Just remember, our goal is knowledge, not interference. Stay focused." Lyrak promised to remain vigilant, though privately, he wondered how long he could keep up the charade. As he gazed at the images of Alex and Samantha laughing over cups of coffee, he felt a growing admiration for humanity. Their resilience, creativity, and zest for life were qualities he found deeply inspiring. For now, Kale's journey continued. Each day brought new experiences, new discoveries, and new challenges. And though the path ahead was uncertain, Lyrak knew one thing for sure: the lessons he was learning from humanity would stay with him forever. Document. Part 5 of Aliens watched humans drink poison and called it a beverage. As the days passed, Lyrak grew more comfortable in his role as Kale. Posing as a curious traveler allowed him to explore human society in ways he had never imagined. He visited cafes, attended small gatherings, and even joined Alex and Samantha for weekend outings. Each experience deepened his understanding of humanity, but it also made him increasingly aware of how much he was hiding. Alex treated Kale like an old friend, introducing him to new places and people with genuine enthusiasm. Samantha, on the other hand, remained cautious. She often watched Kale closely, her sharp eyes catching details others might miss. Though she never voiced her suspicions outright, Lyrak could tell she wasn't fully convinced by his story. Still, she tolerated his presence, perhaps out of respect for Alex's fondness for him. One evening, after a long day of exploring the city, Alex invited Kale to join him and Samantha for dinner at a cozy restaurant. The atmosphere was warm, with soft lighting and the smell of spices wafting through the air. As they sat around a small table, sharing plates of food and laughing over stories, Lyrak felt a pang of guilt. He enjoyed their company immensely, but he knew he was deceiving them. Every laugh, every shared moment felt bittersweet. "You're quiet tonight," Alex remarked, breaking through Lyrak's thoughts. "Everything okay?" Lyrak forced a smile, shaking his head slightly. "I'm fine, just thinking about everything I've learned since coming here. Your world is fascinating." Samantha raised an eyebrow, her tone skeptical. "Fascinating. Most people would say it's chaotic. Overcrowded cities, endless noise, and too much caffeine running through everyone's veins. Alex chuckled, nudging her playfully. Come on, Sam. It's not all bad. There's beauty in the chaos. Maybe, Samantha replied, though her expression softened. But sometimes I wonder if we're moving too fast, chasing things that don't really matter. Her words struck a chord with Lyrak. He had seen firsthand how humans lived on the edge, balancing risk and reward in nearly every aspect of their lives. They consumed substances that altered their bodies, worked tirelessly to achieve goals, and sought connection in fleeting moments. Yet, despite the challenges, they found joy in the smallest details: a sip of coffee, a shared laugh, a sunset over the horizon. It must be difficult, Lyrak said thoughtfully, leaning forward slightly. Living in a world where so much is uncertain. How do you manage? Alex shrugged, his voice light but tinged with sincerity. You just learn to adapt. Take things one day at a time. And yeah, sometimes it gets overwhelming, but having friends helps. People you can count on. You know? Samantha nodded, her gaze softening further. That's true. Even when life feels like it's spinning out of control, knowing someone's got your back makes all the difference. Lyrak listened intently, absorbing their words. To him, this exchange revealed something profound about humanity. Their strength lay not in their individual abilities, but in their connections with others. They leaned on each other, supported one another through hardships, and celebrated victories together. It was a concept both simple and deeply meaningful. Later that night, as Alex and Samantha walked Cale back to the park where they had first met, Samantha finally voiced the question that had been lingering in her mind. Cale, she began, her tone measured but firm. There's something I need to ask. You talk a lot about studying our culture, but you never mention where you're from. Not really. Why is that? Lyrak froze, caught off guard by her directness. He had known this moment might come, but he hadn't prepared for it. His holographic disguise shimmered faintly, betraying his unease, though neither Alex nor Samantha noticed. I didn't think it mattered, Lyrak replied carefully, choosing his words with precision. My home is far away, and it's very different from here. That's why I wanted to focus on learning about Earth, instead of talking about myself. Samantha frowned, clearly unsatisfied with the answer. Different how? You act like you've never seen some of the simplest things before. Like coffee, or even basic customs. No offense, but it's kind of strange. Alex glanced between them, sensing the tension. Sam, maybe you're reading too much into it. Cale's just interested in our way of life. Isn't that enough? No, Samantha shot back, her voice rising slightly. It's not enough. We've let him into our circle, trusted him, and yet we barely know anything about him. Doesn't that bother you? Alex hesitated, looking at Cale with uncertainty. Well, now that you mention it, there are a few things that don't add up, but I figured he'd tell us when he was ready. The weight of their stares pressed down on Lyrak. He realized he couldn't keep avoiding the truth. Not without risking their trust entirely. Taking a deep breath, he decided to reveal part of himself. Though not all. You're right, he admitted, his voice steady but tinged with regret. I haven't been completely honest with you. My name isn't Cale. Well, it is now, but it's not my real name. I'm not from around here. In fact, I'm not even human. For a moment, silence hung heavy in the air. Alex blinked, his mouth opening and closing, as if struggling to process what he'd just heard. Samantha, however, seemed less surprised, as if she had suspected something all along. What do you mean, not human? Alex asked finally, his voice trembling slightly. Are you saying you're an alien? Lyrak nodded slowly, lowering his gaze. Yes, I'm part of a species called the Zenari. We've been observing Earth for some time, trying to understand your behaviors and customs. When I saw how important beverages were to you, I wanted to learn more. So I came here, disguised as one of you, hoping to experience your world firsthand. Samantha crossed her arms, her expression unreadable. Why should we believe you? This could be some elaborate prank. I understand your skepticism, Lyrak said gently. But I swear, I mean no harm. Everything I've done has been to learn about you, to understand why you live the way you do. Your resilience, your creativity, your ability to find joy, even in difficult times. It's inspiring. Alex stared at him, his face a mix of shock and awe. Wait, so you're telling me aliens exist? And you're one of them? Right now? Standing right here? Yes, Lyrak replied, his voice calm. But please, don't be afraid. My intentions are peaceful. I only wanted to connect with you, to see the world through your eyes. Samantha stepped closer, her sharp gaze piercing. If you're really an alien, prove it. Show us something. Anything. Lyrak hesitated, knowing he was crossing a dangerous line. But he also knew he needed to earn their trust. Slowly, he deactivated his holographic disguise, allowing his true form to emerge. His skin shimmered faintly, and his large almond-shaped eyes glowed softly in the dim light. Alex gasped, taking a step back, while Samantha stood frozen, her skepticism replaced by astonishment. Wow, Alex whispered, his voice filled with wonder. This is incredible. Samantha swallowed hard, her arms dropping to her sides. Okay? I believe you, but why us? Why did you choose to reveal yourself to us? Because you've shown me kindness, Lyrak explained. You welcomed me without hesitation, shared your lives with me, and taught me about your world. I owe you the truth. For a long moment, no one spoke. The night air was cool and still, the distant hum of the city fading into the background. Finally, Alex broke the silence. So, what happens now? He asked, his tone hesitant but curious. Are you leaving, or staying? I want to stay, Lyrak replied honestly. But I'll leave if you feel uncomfortable. Your safety comes first. Alex exchanged a glance with Samantha, who seemed lost in thought. After a pause, she sighed, her expression softening. If you're telling the truth, and I think you are, then we should probably hear you out. Just promise you won't hurt anyone. I promise, Lyrak said firmly. You have my word. Relieved, Alex grinned, his earlier fear giving way to excitement. This is insane. Aliens. Actual aliens. Who would have thought? Samantha rolled her eyes, but couldn't suppress a small smile. Only you would find this thrilling, Alex. Despite the tension, Lyrak felt a wave of gratitude wash over him, revealing his true identity had been a gamble, but it had paid off. Alex and Samantha weren't rejecting him, they were willing to listen, to give him a chance. It was more than he had hoped for. Back on the Zanari ship, Vela monitored the situation closely, her expression tense as she watched the footage, transmitted by Lyrak. When he reported the outcome of his confession, she let out a slow breath. You took a great risk, she said, her voice stern but laced with admiration. But it seems to have worked. For now at least. They're remarkable, Lyrak replied, his eyes gleaming with emotion. They're scared, yes, but they're also open-minded, willing to accept something beyond their understanding. Vela nodded, her shimmering skin flickering faintly. Perhaps that's what makes them truly special. Their capacity for trust, even in the face of uncertainty. As the conversation ended, Lyrak returned to the park, watching the city lights twinkle in the distance. He knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. Trust was fragile, and misunderstandings could arise at any moment. But for the first time, he felt hopeful, not just for the success of his mission, but for the possibility of building a bridge between two worlds. For now, Lyrak had earned a place among humans, and though he was still an outsider, he had taken the first step toward becoming something more, a friend. Document, Part 6 of Aliens Watched Humans Drink Poison and called It a beverage asterisk asterisk. The days following Lyrac's confession were filled with uncertainty. Alex and Samantha had agreed to keep his secret, but the weight of what they had learned lingered in their minds. They continued to meet him as usual, though their interactions carried an undercurrent of tension. For Lyrac, this was both a relief and a challenge. While he was grateful for their acceptance, he knew that earning their full trust would take time. One evening, after another day spent exploring the city together, Alex turned to Lyrac with a thoughtful expression. "So, what's your world like? Where you come from, I mean?" Lyrac hesitated, unsure how much to reveal. He wanted to share his experiences honestly, but he also didn't want to overwhelm them. "It's very different from Earth," he began slowly. "We live in harmony with our environment, relying on advanced technology to sustain us. Our food and drink are designed purely for nourishment, not enjoyment. There's no need for substances like caffeine or sugar because we've optimized our biology." Samantha frowned slightly, her sharp gaze fixed on him. "No enjoyment. That sounds boring." "It's practical," Lyrac explained. "Our focus has always been on survival and progress. We value efficiency above all else. But isn't life supposed to be more than just surviving?" Alex asked, his voice tinged with curiosity. "I mean, sure, we work hard and deal with challenges, but we also find ways to have fun, to relax. Isn't that important too?" Lyrac nodded, his expression softening. "That's one of the things I admire most about humans. You embrace life fully, even when it's messy or unpredictable. Your ability to find joy in simple moments is something my people don't understand." Samantha tilted her head slightly, her tone softening. "Do you think your kind could ever learn to live like us, to enjoy things without worrying so much about perfection?" "I don't know," Lyrac admitted. "But maybe that's why I'm here to bridge the gap between our worlds. To show my people that there's value in imperfection, in taking risks." Alex grinned, clearly pleased by the idea. "Well, if anyone can do it, it's you. You're already halfway there, Kalor, whatever your real name is." Lyrac chuckled softly, appreciating Alex's lightheartedness. Despite everything, Alex's optimism remained unwavering. It was a quality Lyrac found both endearing and inspiring. A few days later, Alex suggested introducing Lyrac to a wider group of friends. "They'll love meeting you," Alex said enthusiastically. "Besides, it'll help you understand more about how humans interact." Samantha shot him a warning glance. "Are you sure that's a good idea? What if someone slips up and says something weird?" "They won't," Alex replied confidently. "I'll make sure they know to keep it casual. Trust me, it'll be fine." Though skeptical, Samantha reluctantly agreed. The gathering took place at a small rooftop cafe overlooking the city skyline. Strings of fairy lights hung overhead, casting a warm glow over the tables. A group of about 10 people gathered around, chatting animatedly and sipping colorful drinks. Lyrac felt a flicker of nervousness as Alex introduced him. "This is Kale," Alex announced, clapping a hand on Lyrac's shoulder. "He's visiting from out of town and loves learning about local culture." The group welcomed him warmly, asking questions about his travels and offering recommendations for places to visit. Lyrac listened intently, marveling at the diversity of personalities and perspectives. Some spoke passionately about their favorite foods, while others shared stories about late-night adventures fueled by coffee or energy drinks. The conversations were lively, filled with laughter and occasional bursts of debate. At one point, a young woman named Mia leaned forward, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. "So, Kale, what's the strangest thing you've tried since coming here?" Lyrac smiled faintly, recalling his earlier experiments with human beverages. "Probably coffee. It's unlike anything I've ever experienced." Mia laughed, raising her own cup in a mock toast. "Welcome to the club. Once you start drinking it, you can't stop." The comment drew chuckles from the group, and Lirak joined in, feeling a sense of belonging he hadn't expected. For a brief moment, he forgot about the differences between himself and the humans around him. Instead, he focused on the shared experience, the warmth of connection, the joy of discovery. As the night wore on, Lirak found himself drawn into deeper conversations. One man, Daniel, spoke about his struggles, balancing work and personal life. Another, Rachel, shared her passion for photography, showing off photos of landscapes she had captured during her travels. Each story revealed a new facet of humanity, highlighting their resilience, creativity, and vulnerability. Later that week, Lirak decided it was time to take Alex and Samantha aboard the Zanari ship. He had promised to show them more about his species, and he believed the best way to do so was through first-hand experience. After ensuring the ship was cloaked and hidden from prying eyes, he led them to its location in a secluded part of the parked out. When they stepped inside, Alex and Samantha gasped in awe. The interior was sleek and futuristic, with glowing panels and smooth metallic surfaces. Streams of light pulsed gently along the walls, creating an ethereal atmosphere. Vela greeted them warmly, her shimmering skin catching the dim illumination. "Welcome," she said, her melodic voice filling the room. "I am Vela, one of Lirak's colleagues. Thank you for trusting us." Alex couldn't stop smiling, his excitement evident. "This is incredible. It's like stepping into a sci-fi movie." Samantha, however, remained cautious, her sharp eyes scanning the surroundings. "How long have you been watching us?" she asked bluntly. "4 centuries, Vela replied honestly. "We've observed countless civilizations, studying their ecosystems and behaviors. Humanity is unique among them." "In what way?" Samantha pressed, her tone probing. "You adapt," Vela explained. "Even when faced with challenges, you find ways to thrive. Your ability to consume substances that would harm most organisms and yet derive pleasure from them is just one example." Alex nodded eagerly. "Yeah, we're pretty resilient. But I guess that's what happens when you live on a planet full of surprises." Vela smiled faintly. "Indeed. And now, thanks to Lirak, we're beginning to understand why." Over the next hour, Lirak and Vela gave Alex and Samantha a tour of the ship. They showed them advanced laboratories where scientists analyzed data, holographic displays depicting Earth's ecosystems, and even a recreation area where Zanari relaxed during downtime. Though much of the technology was beyond human comprehension, Alex and Samantha marveled at its elegance and precision. "This is amazing," Alex said finally, shaking his head in disbelief. "You guys are way ahead of us. We may have advanced technology," Vela replied, "but we lack something humans possess as zest for life. Your ability to embrace uncertainty, to seek out experiences, is something we're still trying to understand." Samantha crossed her arms, her expression thoughtful. "So what happens now? Are you planning to stay here, or leave?" "That depends on you," Lirak interjected gently. "If you're comfortable with us continuing to observe and learn, we'd like to remain, but only if you agree." Alex glanced at Samantha, who hesitated before nodding slowly. "I think we owe it to ourselves and to you to give this a chance. Just be careful. Humans aren't always predictable." Lirak smiled, feeling a surge of gratitude. "Thank you. That means more than you know." As the evening drew to a close, Alex and Samantha prepared to leave the ship. Before stepping outside, Alex turned to Lirak with a grin. "You know, meeting aliens wasn't exactly on my bucket list, but I'm glad it happened. Who knows? Maybe someday we'll be neighbors." Samantha rolled her eyes, but couldn't suppress a small smile. "Don't get ahead of yourself, Alex." Lirak watched them go, his heart swelling with hope. Though the journey was far from over, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. By bridging the gap between humans and Zanari, he was not only fulfilling his mission but also forging connections that transcended worlds. For now, The bond between species was fragile, but it was a start. And in that moment, Lyrak knew that understanding and acceptance were within reach, one shared experience at a time,